You're safer here than any place else.
So why all this deliberate attempt to deceive us, to hide from us that in the past people knew how to soften stones, they knew the recipes of mixtures for making artificial stones and making apparently complex molds for such casting? After all, we ended up doing it with modern means anyway. Well, there are a couple of reasons for deceiving us in such a way. One of them is the obvious, to perpetuate this illusion that people in the past were backwards and they didn't know as much as we do. But even a more important reason is that when we are told that hooray, hooray, we discovered recently how to make stones, mixtures, geopolymers, and we certainly do, but under the condition that the methods and the recipes are no longer ecological friendly, they're no longer accessible for the common people. You will always rely on central supplies or technology to be able to use this knowledge. You will always need some special ingredients, and you will not be able to create stuff as a free man, because always to get those ingredients or recipes or special tools, you will have to be a part of the digital slavery system in one form or another. While our forefathers, they were free. They could go out and dig the ingredients or find them out there in nature. And in return, they didn't need to pollute and destroy this nature just to make their home or art out of these ingredients. And in return, they didn't need to pollute and destroy. You will have to be the common people. You will always rely on central supplies or technology to be able to use this knowledge. You will always need some special ingredients, and you will not be able to create stuff as a free man, because always to get those ingredients or recipes or special tools, you will have to be a part of the digital slavery system in one form or another. While our forefathers, they were free. They could go out and dig the ingredients or find them out there in nature. And in return, they didn't need to pollute and destroy this nature just to make their home or art out of these ingredients. And hiding the knowledge of how to work with soft stone is just the tip of the iceberg. For example, recently I was browsing a book which is just a bit more than 100 years old. And since it is a relatively recent book, of course, most of its content is very similar to the history preached in modern times. Similar but not the same. And the changes, the modernization of history, was not at all random. And I noticed two particular points about which they are particularly keen on obscuring, blurring, deceiving us, and they are doing it slowly since hundreds of years. Although the social organizations on ground which they bribe to do the work change as the different regimes in the society change, the trends, those who pull the strings on the top, they are the same who have been doing it for hundreds of years, and they know very well what they are doing. The first thing which they want to blur is, of course, the identity and the presence of the people I call survivors. Mavro Urbini called them Resenami, the scattered people. So, any reference to them, direct or indirect? Any story, any hint that somebody came and gave knowledge and culture to simple tribes? That is gradually removed under all kinds of pretexts. Like, for example, now we know that these are legendary fantasy tribes. They didn't really exist. Or, oh, this was just a language group. The people didn't really exist. It's just an idea from the language distribution. Or other lies like recent findings have shown a different story. And then the second area in which those who tamper with the history are keenly interested is the history of the races. Although this 100-year-old book was not directly telling the truth, which is that the various races of humans are actually hybrids between the cavemen and all the, you can call them extraterrestrial or interdimensional beings who came and mixed with the original prototypes. Although that is not there, there were still some hints left, even as close as 100 years ago, that, for example, the races were not restricted to the areas allotted to them by the modern penguins. The modern story they are selling is that, you see, the Asians, they always lived in Asia. That's why they're different from the others, because they adapted to the Asian environment. And the same applies to all the other races. According to this story, the Africa always belonged to the dark race. They are telling us that people could not have mixed anyway because faraway travel was extremely rare, if possible at all. And when mummies of another race are found in a given region, or skeletons of giants or dwarfs, this doesn't fit the modern penguinian story, so they just hide them or destroy them. But even 100, 200 years ago, apparently the memories of this mixing of various, not only human but also non-human races, dwarfs, giants, so these memories were still fresh even 100, 200 years ago, and it was too early to declare them fictional, and so they were still somewhat present in the history, at least hints of them. For example, I have videos about dwarfs openly maintaining contacts with people in Siberia a couple of generations ago. There was trade going on still. Also, I've seen very interesting research showing that even at the dawn of photography, there were still many giant people actually, much more than nowadays. And most likely, at the current moment, they have managed successfully to get rid of all the uncomfortable skeletons and remains. And also because with time, as people were mixing more and more, the genetic pool became more and more homogeneous. Now they can safely declare all that as fantasy. For example, after decades of hard work, of destroying and hiding all the remains and records of giants, now they are ready to say, there were no giants, of course. Where are the giants? We don't see any giants. With the dwarfs, it was probably even easier for them because, being magical beings, they didn't tend to bury their dead in the ground, it seems. And what's the entire point of all this stupid hiding of history? What are they up to? The single most important thing that they want to blur and hide is the real spirituality. And that was the central pivotal point in the lives of our forefathers. This was the most important thing for them. That transpires from the rare, really genuine old inscriptions, from the legends. But their idea of what spirituality is all about is quite different from the understanding of the modern people, and quite radically different from modern religions. And the thing is that in our genetic code, it's not just cavemen. There were also powerful magicians and other races left magical imprints in our genetic code. We have abilities which are now mostly dormant, but they can be activated. Which is, of course, the worst nightmare of the parasitic vampires who are sucking the blood out of the humanity now. If too many people start activating their dormant magical abilities, then also too many people will grasp the main point that we are enslaved in an artificial holographic reality which we create ourselves, instigated by the forces of evil, and getting out of this predicament is relatively easy for those who have developed their subtle vision to the extent of directly perceiving how the fabric, this all-pervading energy of the Creator God, manifests in various holographic realities directed by the thoughts and intentions of the beings who reside in these realities. To most people, this will sound like some sort of colorful, new agey fantasy, because that is how the mass media has distorted our understanding of what spirituality is. They present it as some sort of abstract, unreal fantasy. While the truth is exactly the opposite, understanding the fabric from which the holographic reality in which we live manifests is much more real than the computer in front of you, because the computer, along with all the solid objects around, they're just props in this holographic reality in which we reside. For our forefathers, spirituality meant the direct ability to work with that fabric of the creation which actually causes the various props to manifest. Or, in modern language, we call it things that happen to us by chance. We have also invented words like good luck and bad luck. So the more the common people understand how to change the energies which cause the good or bad luck, or the energies which cause the natural disasters around, or the weather, the more they will become masters of their own lives. And that's what the vampires don't want. That's why the vampires want to disconnect us from our wise forefathers. That's why they destroy all genuine books on spirituality. And indeed, they have even convinced most people recently that there were no great forefathers at all. Those were legends of fantasy things which never happened. There were only cavemen and monkeys.